All right, guys, we got a fun guest on the show, Dan Vasko, longtime listener, first time caller, from what I understand. Is that right,
That's
Dan?
right. Yeah, the first time, long time, all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on and talking a little shop with us today.
I'm happy to be here, man. It's exciting. Always talking Chicago sports. Getting to actually go back home for a little bit, virtually, but still, I get to revisit the good old days a little bit.
Right. Well, because you're so you're basically a reporter and a producer out in the Carolinas, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I moved out here about a year ago. I've been in the TV business for just a little over 7 years, and got the job out here. And it was a good opportunity to kind of help work on the digital side of things. And so they needed a digital sports reporter. Basically, I cover stories and post them to our website and our social media pages. And I fill in anchors sometimes when they need to be. I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will. But yeah, so I get to cover sports, and it's kind of Clemson country out here, and University of South Carolina. Those are the big things, and then obviously we're not far from Charlotte, so the Hornets and the Panthers a big deal out here as well. But yeah, it's a cool area. The weather's a lot better. I got to get rid of my winter jackets and everything, so that was an adjustment. But definitely no complaints so far.
Well, and you know what? It's 90 here right now, so you're actually missing
I
out
mean,
because now
yeah,
summertime in Chicago is the best. But it's also
that's right.
supposed to be,
If I could just live in Chicagoland for like that 3 month gap, then all would be good.
it's also supposed to be 55 and raining on Friday. So
I was gonna say it's literally just a 3 month gap, and that might even be
we'll
generous.
hold, we'll hold off on the shit talking there. You said you cover a little bit on air, so I
Yeah.
always think like when people are live on air, how nervous are you?
Well, it's weird. Like, I don't get nervous in the way that you may think, like nervous about performance anxiety or anything like that. I get nervous kind of about like the technical side of things. Like, did I make sure to put the right scores in? Like, did I
Mhm.
make sure to get the graphic in at this point? Because sometimes I'll go in there and reread my show 5 times, but you always never know, like, did I truly miss something? So I get a little nervous about that. um and then if you go live, like out in the field where someone's like tossing to you, sometimes you never know what question they're going to throw your way.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, all right, what are they going to give me right here, to start my live shot off with? But if I'm in the studio, I pretty much know what my show is going to be like. So at this point, after doing it for, so many years, I'm much more comfortable with it. The first couple years it was, terrifying, but I've definitely gotten used to it now.
Yeah. Well, plus everyone
Have you
else
ever?
in the studio is probably on the same page or like thinking
Yeah.
along the same lines. So
Yeah, and they
Exactly.
want the show to go well too. So
right.
they're right in there with you. It's a team effort at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, so you went to Illinois State. What I guess? How did you wind up out on the East Coast then?
Well, so I went to Illinois State. I got my degree in broadcast journalism, and it took me about a year after that to, penetrate the field, because it's a tough, industry, I guess, to get into, especially for sports. There's such high demand. So many people want to get into it. Um, but I got a job in Rockford, Illinois after a year. So I actually was a news photographer there to start. I figured might as well just get into the industry. And it was the best thing I could have done, because I learned how to like film a lot better and like hone my skills just on the camera and editing too and stuff like that. Worked my way up to like a, morning news reporter there. And they always knew I wanted to do sports. So they would give me opportunities, Friday night high school football, stuff like that. And then eventually got to cover the Chicago Bears, which was awesome. Got to do that. It was my weekly beat, to go out there during the 2015 season. A lot of characters. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. Um, Spent a couple years there, though, then got a sports anchor job in the Quad Cities, which I didn't even know, being from the Chicagoland area. I didn't know what that was. It's four cities, two on the Illinois side, two on the Iowa side, right along the Mississippi. Um, Worked for
We should do a trivia, like a trivia of what the four cities are.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and
Um,
there's some
uh,
controversy too, because there's a fifth city in there that definitely demands that they be a part of that. But we covered Iowa Hawkeyes and the University of Illinois were pretty much the primary things out there. Did that for 3 years, sports anchor and covering that stuff. And I was just looking to move up in markets, move up to a higher market area and expand into, maybe unfamiliar territory, try and get, some new experiences. And my girlfriend, who I met at the last station in the Quad Cities, she got a job out here. So it was easy to try and, anchor my search towards this part of the country. And it just so happened that a job opening came up and I just pounced on it. I was like, hey, it's Clemson, South Carolina, ACC, SEC schools. That's a good opportunity to cover them. Got the Panthers and, and it's a good scenery and a much bigger market. So, that's basically how I'm here. Been here a year now and I'm enjoying it for sure.
Awesome. I just got to say kudos to you because I wish I had the balls to major in journalism, but I was just, it's definitely a grind the first couple of years is how it sounds.
Oh my God.
Dude, like the first decade, honestly, like it's, it's just, I just knew that like at that point, I figured I'll listen to the older people who tell me, hey, just do what you love for a living. And I was like, all right, if it doesn't pay well and if it's really tough to get in, so be it. I'll do the grind. And honestly, I mean, it's kind of funny because the first job I had covering the Bears was probably the coolest thing I've been able to do. And that was, 5 years ago or whatever. So you never know when those opportunities will come up to do something cool. And it just so happened to be right away over there. But yeah, I mean, the first thing they told us in journalism class was, hey, you better all be prepared to not make any money and to work long, crappy hours and be miserable. I was like, okay, sounds good. I'm in. Let's do it.
Oh,
Half the class got up and left.
Yeah. Exactly.
The smart ones, at least, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that actually leads us in kind of to what we were gonna go into next. So, like you said, you covered the Bears a little bit for the 2015 season. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's John Fox's first year, right?
That was his. I want to say that was his second year, actually.
Second year?
You could be right. I'm not.
Well, you
totally
cover the
sure
Bears, so I definitely trust you over Kyle.
I'm pretty sure that was his second
over
year.
Here, try not to laugh out my words. So you're right.
Yeah.
So like covering them, what was that like with Cutler? I'll say John Fox,
Adam Gase,
Brady Marshall was there. Adam Gase, yes.
Adam Gase, dude. It was like if I had to pick from the last decade. Now, granted, the team wasn't good. I think they finished 6-10 that year, but it was definitely a locker room full of characters to cover. So I wouldn't have changed that for anything, man. Like John Fox obviously was. He was something else for sure. I mean, he kind of ran a tight ship, but it was weird afterwards when you do the interviews. He's just like this fun-loving guy. Thing like he's running a tight ship, and camera crew can only be on the field for the first 5 minutes of practice or whatever, and you got to go. Like it was very regimented. I imagine that's how it is in most NFL places. But yeah, the stark contrast between John Fox and then an Adam Gase and then a Jay Cutler, it was, and they usually followed each other up to the podium or, out there on the practice field. It was interesting to go interview from interview, and Vic Fangio, of course, as well. So yeah, I mean, Cutler obviously with his neck twitches, we'd always do that. That was the first thing he would always do. He'd be like, "Hey, what's up, guys?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about Adam Gase twitching his eyeballs? He's just sitting there like,
it's weird, dude. I it didn't. I never noticed it. I guess it never actually jumped out to me.
Is that a regular thing for him? I've seen the GIF of him at the Jets press conferences.
Yeah.
Flying all over the room.
I feel like it was probably magnified at that point, and like his hair was a little disheveled. Like the whole presentation wasn't ideal. At practice, he would always have a Bears hat on, so maybe that was like it kind of shielded his eyes a little bit. Maybe that's why I couldn't see the bulging eyes or whatever. But and it was funny. Like I think back to that time, and it was like, man, this guy is gonna transform this offense. He's gonna and to his credit, he did make Cutler more efficient. Like Cutler was a better quarterback once Adam Gase got there. But obviously it didn't materialize to what we thought it was eventually going to be.
Yeah. So Cutler, I mean, is probably considered one of the most interesting players or polarizing players in Bears history. Did you have any interesting or cool encounters with him or good stories from that season?
I wish I had something specific with him because he is that type of figure. We were limited into what we could watch in practice, right? So we didn't get to really see a whole lot of how he interacted with the teammates. Like, I will say he hardly was ever in the locker room, which kind of struck me as odd. Because we would, go there usually after practice. They'd bring Cutler, John Fox, Fangio, and Gase out to the field for us to interview them there. And then after that, we would get to go into the locker room. But obviously, like, Cutler's going back to the locker room, right? But I never saw him with the team, like, ever. And I always thought that was kind of weird. Granted, I was like basically a rookie when it comes to covering the NFL. I didn't know what to expect. But now looking back at how, he's been dogged for his, like, demeanor sometimes, or like, people say like he lacked caring and stuff. I don't know if that's just a coincidence that he wasn't, hanging out and chumming it up with the teammates after practice or whatnot. But that was my experience with Cutler. I will say, Martellus Bennett, he was on that team, and man, that guy was crazy. That guy dropped an F-bomb all the time in interviews, and I was crying of laughter because it's just so funny. I'm like, of course I can't use any of this on local TV in Rockford, but we were all laughing hysterically. I mean, that guy, you would ask him a question. I remember, like, at one time someone asked him, like, like, what do you think about, why you dropped a couple passes, or it was something along that line from the week before, and he was just like, I don't give a shit. And then we were like, oh, okay, all right.
Just seems
great.
like you never knew it was going to come out of his mouth.
Yeah, no, it was every day. I made sure to try and go to him because I was like, he's gonna give us something gold.
I forget who it was, but didn't he get in a fight with a DB at practice?
Wasn't it Kyle Fuller?
Was it Fuller?
It may have been Kyle Fuller, actually. You may be right. I don't know if it was that year, but
yeah, I'm not sure if it was that year, but at some point in his Bears tenure,
yeah. I mean, he's a feisty guy, right?
Yeah,
he's one of those characters for sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he have like on social media? Didn't he have like a storybook or like a cartoon character or something like?
Or maybe I think that was in the beginning stages. You're right, though. Like, he's a huge into art and stuff. He ended up, I think it was like maybe like 2017 when maybe when he's with the Patriots at that point, he started actually like diving headfirst into like that career. I think he was slowly transitioning at that point from NFL player to, potential storyboard artist or something like that. I think he won like an Emmy, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that for one of his like short films that he animated. He's a creative dude,
Yeah. I'm looking at his Twitter right now, and his pinned tweet says, "You can pre-order my next children's book. There's a unicorn in my backyard."
Yes. There you go. Like, who else would you, if you were to say, yeah, I got this random tweet and this guy made a children's book about unicorns. He's a former NFL player. Martellus Bennett. No,
I don't know why I was thinking unicorn too. That might have been his nickname or something.
A black unicorn.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that what he said? Jesus. So, I mean, covering, I guess, just like different personalities. You're right. You were saying it's like Adam Gase, John Fox, Jay Cutler, and Martellus Bennett. You want to talk about four just like guys?
Funny how Cutler's throwing to Martellus Bennett and Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, and Alshon Jeffrey was there. That was obviously when he was like bursting onto the scene.
Right.
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic. It never felt. I always thought that Cutler and Gase had a really good relationship. It struck like that's how it, I guess appeared to me based on not just their interactions early in practice when we were there, but it was more like how they talked about each other. Like, Cutler seemed optimistic that year about what Adam brought to the table. And Adam seemed like Cutler was a guy that he was excited to work with. So those were always cool. Fox always seemed just like the angry dad that was keeping the kids in line. at a point. It was like, Adam was a young guy who's in his early 30s, Cutler's, late 20s. And, they're both, I guess, unconventional guys. And then Fox is like, the dad keeping everyone in check. And then here comes Grandpa Fangio up there, soft-spoken Grandpa Fangio, just dominating at defensive coordinator, and always, he always kept things pretty tight-lipped. He didn't share a whole lot, but we all know how good he is at, dialing up defensive schemes and stuff like that. It was just an interesting pairing. Fox and Fangio were very much, on that side of the ball, and then you got Gase and Cutler on the other side. So it was quite a dynamic. But and then you had, Matt Forte was just the quietest guy, and he didn't like talking, to the media, which I understand. I mean, some guys just don't like, being hovered around every day after practice. I totally get it. He was really quiet. Then Zach Miller was on the team. He was a pretty vocal guy, always good talking to the cameras. Kyle Long and Pernell McPhee was on the team. He was a pretty vocal dude.
Is he still? He's not in the league, right? Pernell McPhee.
I don't think he's in the league anymore.
He's got to be out of the league at this point.
Because he's probably like 31, 32 at this point. He's probably out of the league, I would imagine. Sam Acho, he was always really fun to talk to.
Hey, Pernell McPhee played in 15 games last year.
Did he really? Holy smokes! How about that? Wait, for who? Who did he play for?
The Ravens.
I should have known that.
I should have known that too, because it sounded familiar. I was like, that name sounds fucking familiar. It's because
I was just sitting here shaking my head like, yep, you guys are right.
He's been with the Ravens the past 2 years. Yeah, 7 games in 2019, and then started 13 games last year. So shout out Pernell McPhee.
Good for Pernell. Hey, attaboy.
This is a pro Pernell McPhee podcast.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna have to tag him in. We're gonna
get into Pernell McPhee talk today, but here we are. So in that 2015 season, what was your? I'm looking at the Football Reference and their schedule right now. What was your favorite game to cover? Because I definitely have one that just sticks out to me. Not that I covered, I'm saying just like watching, but what was your favorite game?
Right. Well, okay. So I didn't get to cover the games, unfortunately. So like they only gave certain passes out. And since we weren't Chicago media, we were from Rockford. We didn't get to go to the games. Now we could go if we wanted to, but we couldn't be on the sidelines or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so I just watched the games, and then I would gather what I needed, from the game or whatever. And then I would prepare for that week of practice to say, like, what am I going to ask them about from this past week's game? So it's a little bit more limited in that aspect. Like I would drive to Hallis Hall on Wednesday morning. We'd get practice. We'd do those interviews. I would, do my stand-up or live coverage right outside of Hallis Hall, and then drive back to Rockford. I honestly think did they open at Green Bay or against Green Bay? Because I think I remember that opening game.
Against Green Bay at home.
I can't remember the specifics of it. I'm sorry. It's been like 6 years, and I can't remember the specifics of that particular game on the schedule.
Lost the opening game 31-23. They were tied or down 1 going into the
okay.
Into the
I knew it was a close game, and I remember thinking like, man, are they like, are they gonna actually like come to fruition here? Is Cutler gonna like do his magic this year, get them in a division title? And despite, what was the final, 31-23?
Yeah, and they were up at half. They're up 13-10.
Yeah, I remember after that, like, well, even though they lost, it seemed like the wheels were churning and things were going in the right direction. And I think I remember asking like Kyle Fuller after that game, like, what after just 1 week in the books, what have you, because this was his second year in the league. I was like, has anything seemed to click differently now being in a real game action for your second year? And Kyle Fuller was just like, and he was probably like, dude, who's this guy? He's like a brand new reporter I've never seen before. And he was just like, I mean, I don't know, man. It's the NFL. I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Like sounds good. I got it. I get it.
Yeah.
But No, that I feel like the whole season's kind of a blur. Outside of that first game, because I remember that first game being intense. And talking about it with the guys after that. But yeah, that season was weird because it did feel like this was a team that could actually do something. And then it was just so anticlimactic. It was like, really, this is how this season's gonna go. Yeah, I'm looking at it now, like get absolutely railroaded by the Cardinals the following week at home, get blanked by the Seahawks, and that's like,
that was Jimmy Clausen against the Seahawks, right?
What's that?
Wasn't that Jimmy Clausen against the Seahawks? Yeah, Jimmy.
I'm pretty sure. Actually, yes, it was Jimmy Clausen. Yes, it was. Yep.
Oh,
yep. Oh gosh, man, I forgot about that. Jimmy Clausen, classic.
So as fun as it is to talk about the 6-10 Bears and Jay Cutler, there's hope on the horizon here.
There is, man. I mean, what was your guys' reaction on draft day? Because the second I saw that the Bears are traded up and they're on the clock, all I was thinking was, my God, please tell me that they're not trading up to go for like Mac Jones.
Oh my God, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Exactly what we said. I was like, once I heard Justin Fields' name, 6 to midnight, real quick. But before that, I was praying that they didn't take Mac Jones.
Yeah, actually, what happened is I broke out into a cold sweat.
Yeah.
And then
just sitting there shaking, like, God, what's going to happen?
Right. And I was like,
it's the longest 3-minute wait of your life.
But I really think Ryan Pace crushed this draft. I mean,
I was talking with my friend, and I do this NFL podcast with my friend who does radio in Quincy, Illinois, Mark Hespin, and it's an all NFL show. We just talk about the league, and he's a diehard Bears fan, like to the core. So like I can't claim that I'm a diehard Steelers fan, but I call myself a Bears fan because I follow them and I root for them every week unless they're playing the Steelers. And I was talking with him, and he had the same thoughts. Like he was like, I was just praying it wasn't Mac Jones. But we were talking, and I was like, dude, you got to feel like this is the most redemptive possible draft that Pace could have had. Like as a fan, with so many disappointing, especially early round picks. Like Pace has hit on a couple like 4th rounders. You know, the Tariq Cohen pick was a nice pick, but it's like, dude, the guy couldn't get the 1st and 2nd round picks to work out. It finally felt like this year was the culmination of all of the frustration, probably inside the building on his end. And you probably felt. What's that?
You're tuning my horn here. I always tell them, I'm like, Ryan Pace is like a 2nd to 6th round genius.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, if you could just have like 3 GMs, you have like almost like a pitching staff, right? You got your starter. He'll do the first 3 rounds, and then after that we'll get our closing pitcher in Ryan Pace come in and close out the draft.
Right, but, swing the hammer. I said, I was like, they should have locked Ryan Pace in a closet for the 1st round.
Yeah, they should have.
I can't even tell you though how happy I am. I mean, besides the Justin Fields pick, I was so happy when they traded up with your Panthers up there.
Yeah.
And drafted Tevin Jenkins, because that guy looks like an absolute barn animal.
I was amazed that he was available. I was like, I mean, I thought he was going to be
the Bears taking him in the 1st round.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the Steelers obviously needed an offensive tackle pretty bad. And I thought maybe
that's why they drafted a running back, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not too disappointed with that, though, because a guy like him, if he ends up being, what he's supposed to be, then okay, I'll take it.
He could be a game breaker.
Najee Harris is pretty good.
for sure. But
did the pictures just come out of him where like he was at Steelers like rookie camp or mini or whatever that is?
Yeah, the rookie mini camp.
Tree trunks.
Yes.
Was that who I'm thinking of?
Well, no. You're probably thinking of Mike Davis. Yeah, you're thinking of Mike Davis from the.
Oh yes, that's who I'm thinking of, Mike Davis.
Which that's insane, dude. That is insane.
Yeah, those. Oh my God! Talk
like
about
Earl Campbell reincarnated, man. Like
yes.
I was like, my goodness. Yeah, he's gonna be a beast. A former Bear at that too. I think he was with them like 4 or 5 years ago. So he thought he was gonna be like a career backup, and then last year he fills in for McCaffrey and dominates. And yeah, so the Falcons may have solved their rushing woes that Todd Gurley and company.
Yeah, he almost kind of prove the argument that running backs are a dime a dozen and that you can just find them anywhere, you know?
Well, that's the thing, man. That's why drafting a first round running back is so like, it doesn't happen very often anymore, because unless they're a Hall of Famer, you know, it's like you can find great running backs all across the board, undrafted, whatever. It's, you know, look, I mean, Tariq Cohen's a mid-round pick, and granted, he's not like an every down back, but like he's a good enough specialty piece to where, you know, people are drafting him in fantasy and stuff. So I mean, clearly he has some value to the team.
I mean, look at Alvin Kamara too.
So, exactly.
So
Le'Veon Bell was a second round pick, but still, you know.
Yeah, we have this debate where it's, I guess it's, I brought this question up a couple of weeks ago, but I don't think you should ever draft a running back before like the third round, because I think they are just so, I mean, it's a turnstile. I mean, you can, like, is there a running back that has been given a huge contract that it's like, holy shit, this guy's worth every single penny?
Yeah, I
mean, that's a good point. I think they're anomalies. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No.
I think they are anomalies. I think it's just like, if you can find it, like if we had to redraft from like 12 years ago, I think Adrian Peterson is still a first round draft pick. And a team would be silly not to pick him in the first round, like, because he was such a transformative player. It didn't work out for the Vikings, but I don't think it's necessarily because they picked him first round. I think it's because they're the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's one of those toss-ups where I would agree with you to an extent, though. I don't think more than like a couple generational type players at that position should go early, because like you said, I mean, you can find them all over the place, and it's one of the easier positions to transition to the NFL. You know, you don't need, there's not a huge learning curve. So
I think it's a different conversation though, because if you talk about drafting a running back versus giving a running back a big contract, I still think it's worth drafting like a generational talent running back, getting him in his prime first few years straight out of college. But then when it comes to paying them a big contract, that's when
you got to let them go. Yeah.
Right. Because the shelf life of running backs in the NFL is just really almost non-existent.
Hashtag Le'Veon Bell.
Exactly. It's honestly, that's case in point, really. I mean, that's, and who knows what it would have been like if he stayed with Pittsburgh. Maybe his career would have been better for another 2 years, but still he would probably be at the point where he's at right now. Because dude, the wheels just fall off, man. It's hard to sustain that much. You think about like Larry Johnson. That guy had like 420 carries one year, and he was the talk of the town for like 3 years in the NFL. Like, dude, this running back's amazing. And then he's nowhere. You never hear from him again.
Yep.
You know, it's like
a guy
so many
years. Jamal Charles too. Jamal Charles kind of like burst on the scene, and then it was like, all right, he tore his ACL, he's done.
Yep.
Well, but then you take a look at a guy
so often.
You take a look at a guy like Saquon, who everyone was saying was a slam dunk, can't miss pick, and he's hurt all the time now.
And even Zeke. I mean, Zeke has been really good, but like, was he like a number one pick good? Has he produced to that level? He's been hurt. I mean, the team hasn't had much success. Like, that's why, like, you know, they always say like amazing running backs don't usually transition to team success. I don't know off the top of my head, but if you think about like the last like 20 Super Bowl winners, how many of them had like a great running back on the team, or like
the Patriots had James White?
Kyle just got hard as a rock.
Yeah, you did. And how can we forget Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette?
Are you sure you don't listen to this podcast? Because these are this is every single point I bring up.
Is it right? Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, there's something to be said for it. Now that like, I would still say if you put Adrian Peterson on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know, or Adrian Peterson from like 5 years ago on this past year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then all of a sudden we're saying, okay, like that team's like unstoppable in every possible way. But it's just true. You don't. I'm
sure they considered this year's Adrian Peterson too. They had McCoy, Leonard Fournette. Yep. Peterson would have been the next guy to round out the old man crew.
That's true. That's true. Just gotta get Frank Gore in there, maybe. And,
yeah,
and then they'll really have a
big
party.
Balls, Frank Gore. Let those big nuts swing around KC. Goal line.
No, that's why I really think you build your offense up front with the line first, and that's why I love what the Bears did after taking Fields. They take two guys who are 6'5" plus and 300 pounds plus, and
they did the right thing. And I also think that what Nagy has said so far about his plan for Fields, I think it makes sense. I know that a lot of fans really want to see Fields right away, but I wouldn't be upset. And I know I can't consider myself necessarily a part of Bear country, but like, if he waits a little while, maybe it does benefit him. And like, maybe Nagy wants to like actually do with a rookie quarterback what he wasn't able to do with Trubisky, because Trubisky, he inherited, you know. I think they're going about it the right way in terms of prioritizing protection for him, making sure we're not going to roll this guy out into a situation where he's going to get absolutely destroyed. You know, like you don't want to start Justin Fields at Lambeau, you know, right out of the gate or something like that. That could potentially push back development a little bit, because someone could lose their confidence pretty quickly.
Their first game's in LA against the Rams, and
there you go.
That's a pretty tough customer right there. So
that is, yeah. Face Aaron Donald right out of the gate. Let's see how that goes. So
if
look,
we were to put an over under on it, what would you say? Like week 4.5.
You know what? I was actually thinking about that. I would say over, because I think I was looking at. Hold on, let me pull up their schedule real quick, because I had a game in mind that I thought would probably make the most sense. For them to throw them in there. It was against the Lions. Game against the Lions.
Yeah, that's probably week 4 then. They're home against the Lions.
Okay, well, actually, no, I was thinking the second game. I'm sorry. I think the game at Detroit on Thanksgiving Day would possibly be one, because
that late.
I just don't know, man. Like I don't know if they roll him out that early. I'm talking not what I would do, but what I think will probably happen. So I guess it's a little bit different. But I think a game against, at home, I guess the week 4 game is at home. So you could have an argument there. I mean, he gets to make a start at Soldier. And
my philosophy is definitely don't rush it. You let Andy Dalton earn his 10 or 11 million. You take some licks in the backfield. And then you see how the defense plays with it for the first few games of the season.
Sure.
Because they definitely had some shaky games last season, and I think the jury is still kind of out on them at this point. But I think if they come out and they're stout and it looks like they're serious contenders, then you kind of maybe push the envelope a little bit to get Fields in sooner.
I could see
that. I feel like I'm gonna puke if I have to watch Andy Dalton under center for more than like 3 games.
I do. I mean, the product will not be fun to watch, but maybe it'll pay off for like the next 12 years then, you know.
I mean, you can imagine the emotional roller coaster that us Bears fans rode on this offseason.
100%. I mean,
Watson, it's Russell Wilson, Andy Dalton,
dangle the
Justin
carrot.
Fields.
The QB1 tweet was so weird. That was an interesting marketing strategy. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe just say like, we've signed Andy Dalton, welcome, or something like that. But like, our guy, our warrior, Andy Dalton, it's gonna go to bat for us, Super Bowl baby. Like, no, I don't think that's gonna happen.
On our Twitter page, Kyle actually cut out a picture of Fields' face and put it over Dalton, and it says QB1, and it's just Fields' face on Dalton's body.
That's great.
The shittiest Photoshop you've ever seen, but it gets the job done.
Hey, but that's how you got to do it with those things, though, dude. You just gotta like own it at that point. You know,
they've tweeted out QB1 for 4 different quarterbacks or 3 different quarterbacks over the past, was this 9 months now? Or I'll say 12 months.
Yeah.
So Mitch, Nick Foles, and now Andy Dalton, and I'm assuming soon enough Justin Fields is going to get that QB1 tweet in his arsenal. So I don't know.
They should just make it at that point QB4 and then ever afterwards or something like that. Where do you guys think? Because a lot of people are talking about this. Where do you think Justin Fields already ranks among the best Bears quarterbacks of all time? Like, is he top 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
He probably is the best.
Just the thought of Justin Fields is top 3.
Yeah, 100%.
He's got a great one. Great jersey number. You definitely can win with a guy who wears number 1.
Oh,
like that's just, you're a proven winner.
Maybe he'll have a Cam Newton type of 2015 season, MVP style season or something. That'd be awesome too. You know, hey, he wore number 1 as well.
I bet the Panthers in the Super Bowl. It's a sore subject.
Yeah. It's not ideal. Let's put it that way.
Not great. He's got a great name, like I said, And I had no idea that he runs a 4.4 40.
Yeah, dude, he's blazing.
Fast.
Yeah, very fast.
That's faster, right, than Watson. And
yeah.
Just think about how versatile they are, and think now what a 4.4 might do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like, Trubisky made like quite a few plays with his legs, and it was always like nice to see, and you almost like wish that that he would have like figured it out, better, like in terms of, and maybe he was being restricted based on like the play. I really don't know, but for whatever reason, he seemed to be hesitant to make plays with his legs sometimes when he should have, and then other times he would actually make great plays. I think of like one against Dallas a year ago where he made like a 25-yard touchdown run. And I'm like, dude, that's what you got to do, man. It's like primetime football. It's like, that's the Trubisky everyone's waiting to see. But like, I can imagine with Nagy's playbook that Justin Fields will have every possible opportunity to succeed because, Nagy has all of those smoke and mirrors and likes a lot of the crossers and the horizontal play. Fields can be that guy that can extend plays and actually run bootleg, to the best of his ability and to the best of what they needed to be executed at. So
I don't know who they're going to hand the ball to on 4th and 1 now because Cordarrelle Patterson's gone.
And Cordarrelle Patterson, dude, I was like amazed that guy. I love Cordarrelle Patterson. I'm like, this guy's a great return man that somehow just made his niche in the league and found a way to stick around for quite some time.
No, I like him a lot too. I wish he stuck around. I wish they kept him.
Yeah, I know. I hope David Montgomery actually
talk about a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Curtis Samuel type of player,
right.
like one of those guys that really can do it all on the field for you. I kind of imagine that's what they're going to try and do with like Travis Etienne in Jacksonville or something like that. I think they may try and make him into that type of player. We'll see how that works. I don't know, but
Urban had him taking snaps at receiver, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're referring to?
I think a lot of people think that he's going to just be a wide receiver. I just think Urban's like, we know he can run. Let's get him up to speed on his route tree so that he can also be a great route runner and we can put him in the slot. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, obviously. If they do actually intend to make him a full-time receiver, that'd be interesting. I don't know about that, but I thought it was an interesting pick too because Illinois State alum James Robinson bursting onto the scene last year.
Absolutely,
I was super stoked. Oh, he tore it up, and I actually bought a James Robinson Illinois State shirt because he was doing so well, and I had him on my fantasy team. I get him as a keeper now for the next 3 years, so I'm pretty set. But yeah, I was like, damn, like, does this mean they're going to take away carries from James Robinson and make ETN the feature back? I hope not. But yeah, back to your point though. I hope David Montgomery actually gets to where we all thought he was, just a couple years ago. It was I thought it was a good draft pick. And we covered him somewhat since he went to Iowa State. We covered Iowa State athletics as well at my last station in the Quad Cities. And so I was always like, dude, this guy's scoring touchdowns left and right. I was like, he'll definitely be like a solid NFL running back. And maybe it's just been, I don't know what you guys think. Has it been more of a, for a time, Nagy was completely getting away from the run. And that probably contributed to Montgomery not actually progressing in the manner that we all thought. I mean, where do you guys stand on Montgomery and being the guy in the backfield for this team?
Well, he showed major flashes in certain games last year. If you look at the splits between games that Foles played and games that Trubisky played, it's like he was ridiculous when Trubisky was under center. And I don't know if that's because Trubisky's a threat to run, but his stats were just night and day.
Yeah, see, man, you get Fields out there. I wonder if that means Andy Dalton's going to be he's going to perform like he did with Foles. And I bet, I don't know. We'll see.
I think the best thing one of the last things I want to say about the Bears is I think one of the best things that they can do for Fields is lock up Allen Robinson to a long-term deal and just give him that security blanket on the outside. And as a young quarterback, I mean, what better weapon to have than a guy that doesn't drop the ball?
Yeah. No, he has been their brightest spot for the past 5-6 years. Well, wait, no, 4 years, right? He's been there 4 years or 3? Okay.
3 years.
3. I'm all over the map. 3.
I wish
for
it was
the past
5
3
or 6.
years. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, he has been the guy. And I was amazed that they even got to the point, because I was worried he wasn't going to sign the franchise tag. Honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, is he going to try and hold out on this one? I'm glad they got him locked up. Now they need to, make sure that he's the guy for the future, because Fields is going to need a number one guy like that.
Right.
We'll see what happens with Julio Jones. I know there's a lot of talk, but the Bears have no cap space, so I don't know how they would make that work. But they definitely need to lock up A-Rob and then hit on a receiver, maybe next year's draft or free agency or something, get another weapon in there. But Cole Kmet, a nice young weapon, and maybe he'll turn into something. I'm excited to see where he goes year 2. Yeah, exactly.
Same Viter,
right?
He's
a Chicago boy. Yeah. Same Viter, Notre Dame. Or is he also Barrington?
Wasn't he in the Whites? Didn't he get drafted by the White Sox?
Did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
That'd be impressive.
Definitely did.
No. Dude, what's with all these like NFL guys that get drafted in the MLB?
Kyle, I'm looking up right
how
now.
are you so lucky?
You know what's funny? Speaking of NFL guys that get drafted, I had no idea Colin Kaepernick got drafted by the Cubs. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Cubs drafted. I mean, like a late round pick in
to be a pitcher.
Yeah, to be a pitcher.
Wow, man. Wow.
Or like one of those just old random. You'd be like, what the hell is this? And I was looking this up actually for work. This was, I guess, a couple of months ago. Tom Brady was actually drafted higher in the MLB draft than David Ross. He was 10 picks before David Ross.
That's amazing. And it's amazing that Tom was a catcher. You're like, what? Like pretty much, I've never heard of a quarterback that wasn't also a pitcher. So yeah, I thought that is interesting. Although obviously you need an arm, but yeah.
Looks like Russell Wilson, a middle infielder.
He was he was a shortstop, right?
Really?
Oh, he was.
I just figured he'd be outfield.
Either short or second, yeah.
I thought he was shortstop, but I could be wrong on that. Cole Kmet was born in Lake Barrington, Illinois. So what is Lake Barrington versus Barrington, or is it the same?
I don't even know where that.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think they're pretty close to each other.
Okay, but they are different.
Sure. They are different.
They're pretty close to each other.
They're pretty close to each other. So take that for what it's worth. Coors Cold Hard Fact.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, it looks like Kmet worked out for the White Sox. They had plans of drafting him, but I guess he declined potentially going to the MLB because it was his dream to play football for Notre Dame.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Wow.
There you go. Dude, these guys are betting on themselves, man. It's like if I got drafted in the MLB, I'd be like, hell yeah, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Kyler Murray, like could have, but now he's gonna make way more money probably.
And look at the money that he could have potentially. I know there's no minor leagues in the NFL, but going to MLB, even if you go through the minors, but if you do make it, there is so much money to be made.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. Baseball's got the bigger wallet. Long term, I guess you have to be at that level to be there. So it's like, would they have been, at the level of, getting a huge contract? Like, are they going to be Justin Verlander or,
or a complete bust or any minor league player who never made it.
Exactly. So, I mean, I guess you do roll the dice in that regard. So it could be like, hey, if I'll make my like money in the NFL, if you get one contract, like you'll be fine, right? At quarterback. So, maybe that's the thought process. I don't know, but a lot of these guys seem to have picked the right choice,
So what do you think
about
a good example. Tebow going back and playing tight end for the Jags?
I don't know. I mean, it's like, yeah, I was like, meh. All right, Tim Tebow's back in the league. Like, we'll see. I'm skeptical that he'll make 53. And if he does, I imagine he'll be like one of those, H-back, not necessarily tight end, but not a running back. He might be like kind of one of those hybrid players along the line that comes in for like some jumbo packages or goal line packages or something like that. I just don't see maybe Urban just wants to bring a leadership guy in there to help mentor a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. That could possibly be the thought process. So far, it seems like Urban Meyer still thinks he's in college, though. So I mean, we'll see how this works out. He may have a ton of success right out of the gate and make me look foolish for saying that.
I think he just wanted to get the locker room a little more focused on prayer.
There you go. Yeah,
Get
absolutely.
the team in touch with God. And
the team wasn't taking a knee at practice, and he's like, you know how to get them to take a knee? You get Tim Tebow on here. You get the
sign Tebow to the last spot on the roster.
Exactly.
So last Bears question before we move over to some Cubs talk. What's your prediction on the year?
I think the
Your
Bears
and your Steelers predictions.
Okay. I think the Bears and Steelers have similar records by the end of the year. Like I am not optimistic about the Steelers this year. I'm thinking 9-8, 10-7 for Pittsburgh. And I hate saying that. I really do.
First off, congrats on remembering that there's 17 games. So.
Yep, for sure. I've had to constantly remind myself about that.
I haven't reminded myself at all. I like Kyle remind me every time
There you go.
I'm gonna start adding.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. I know there's gonna be slip ups. There were a lot of slip ups when the Chargers moved back to LA, and you're like, I kept calling them San Diego for, a full season pretty much. Now I think the Bears can be a 10-7 team. Like honestly, I kind of like have them there, and I know it's kind of like lukewarm, but I think they can compete. I feel like the division's gonna be tough for them. Obviously with Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers isn't in Green Bay, then all of a sudden it's like the Wild West in the NFC North.
And they're looking murky with that. I'll tell you that.
They are. They're not looking good. So I'll have to kind of probably give two predictions at that point. If Aaron Rodgers is there, I think the Packers win the division and the Bears get into the wild card. I think the Bears will make the playoffs this year. And that's with me thinking that Fields doesn't enter until midseason. So yeah, I think they make the playoffs. If Aaron Rodgers is not in Green Bay, then I think the Bears win the division. Honestly, I think they have a good enough defense, and honestly, they had guys hurt last year on the defense. I know Kyle Fuller being gone really sucks. That was not a position I thought that they were gonna be okay with losing premier talent at. I was very surprised about that move.
They're already running slightly thin there.
Yeah, for sure. So that's going to be a tough area to address. But overall, I think the defense has, somewhat of a bounce back year. I think the team overall is probably rejuvenated a little bit with this Fields pick, with this whole draft class. So, yeah, I would say about 10-7 would be my pick for the Bears. And then, 9-8, 10-7. Yeah.
Okay. And if they make the playoffs, they're probably a team you don't want to run into with Fields under center.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I feel like they'd be a very dangerous team. And especially if they've only got 5-6 games to work with on Fields, then people may not very well not know exactly what to expect and how to deal with him, know, and that could definitely be a problem for teams early on. They would be a dark horse candidate at that point if they got in to actually make a run at this thing.
I just hope Nagy knows how to deal with it, because sometimes it seems like he doesn't know how to deal with his own playbook.
It's hard to evaluate him, honestly. It's like I don't know how I feel about Nagy. Like, I really like him. I think he's awesome. And then at the same time, I'm like, gosh, like, especially with the run game, like they got away from the run game so much. And it's like, why are you doing this now? Like 3rd and 1, and we're going to try and like pass, with Trubisky. It's like, dude, just pound the rock.
Right.
Yeah, there have been definitely questionable aspects. But I am optimistic. I mean, he won a coach of the year. He's made the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years. Like, there's something there, and I think he's got something. So maybe all it took was just getting the right guys in place, maybe getting some more confidence instilled in him by getting him a quarterback of his choosing. And so I think there's a lot more optimism there than in Pittsburgh, where our quarterback is dying on the field, and we're never going to be bad enough to pick top 5. That's the problem with Pittsburgh. Like that's their biggest problem. I don't know how they're going to make that work. But
11-6 in Pittsburgh is my prediction.
That's your prediction? Okay. All right. A little bit more bullish on the Steelers. Hey, they could do it though too. I mean, they could surprise. Their defense is amazing.
Their defense was phenomenal last year.
Yeah. They get Devin Bush back, full time, but they do lose Bud Dupree, and they lost 2 of their best corners. So
they just signed James Harrison again, right? And he's just
they probably. That guy's
heavy thrust somewhere in the Pittsburgh area.
Benching 650 pounds right now as we speak.
He's pushing a sled with like 3 tons on it.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy, it's like every, I don't know, I'll say like 18 months, there's just an Instagram video of him in like oversized sweatpants, just thrusting 750 pounds with his dick.
He disappears for a little bit, but then he pops on.
I still on that rusher.
Moving around industrial equipment.
Oh shit. Well, let's move over to the Cubs here. So well, speaking of wild cards, the Cubs are after that huge win last night.
Big series win right there.
So down there, do you catch a lot of Cubs games? Or are you just kind of following on Twitter what you see, or?
No, I catch a lot actually. I've watched more Cubs games this year than I have in recent memory. Because
thanks to Marquee Network.
MLB TV, man, has been just a blessing. Like I have T-Mobile, right? And they do these like T-Mobile Tuesdays or whatever. I don't know if you guys heard that, but they offered the free MLB pass for the whole season. So I get it for free. And so, any chance I get and the game's on, I'm firing that baby up and getting to watch some Cubs. And it just so happens, it's a lot more, been quite a few more night games than I'm accustomed to, and I'm usually more free on the evening side, so maybe that's been a big reason for it. But I've caught quite a few games, and it's it's been up and down, obviously so far, as is with most Cubs seasons. But I think we're starting to turn a corner here, boys. I think it's pretty good. I'm feeling good about it.
So I've got a good, or I don't know if it's good. It's an interesting stat. So since April 30th, every game that the Cubs have lost has been by only one run. They haven't lost a game in the month of May that by more than one run. And the last time that they lost by more than one run was by 2 runs.
To the right.
So there's definitely something there where they're obviously in every game, and the trajectory of where they were at the end of April to where they're at now, where their offense is putting the ball in play more. Granted, the slug is down. They're not hitting as many home runs.
Right. They're leaving a lot of guys on base too, but
it seems like they really turned a corner after that, or during that Dodgers series when they swept 3 of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, Kershaw and Bauer, just like it was nothing, and you're like,
Buehler
okay,
too,
well, my goodness. And Buehler, So it's like, man, what a way to kind of burst yourself onto the scene after a sluggish start. And I mean, Jock Peterson's better than anyone could have hoped for. After his super slow start, he's now playing, really good.
Yep. He's hitting like
Warner should have been in the lineup a long time ago, but finally he's, given that opportunity. So I think they're starting to figure it out, Definitely.
Yeah. So we've had this debate. What do you think about Nico? Do you think he should have been up right away?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just think I think the talent was there, and he's produced at pretty much most opportunities that he's been given. He has made the most of it.
Tore it up all spring training too.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, I was surprised when opening day lineup came out, and I'm like, why are we not, I
guess I wasn't surprised because it's very clear that it's service time manipulation, and it's going to keep happening around the MLB until.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that happens though,
Right. It's bullshit. He definitely deserved to be on the roster. And I mean, he deserves to be at the top of the order.
He does.
Penciled in there every game.
Yep. I agree. And he's making great plays at second. I mean, we've seen just in the past week and a half, he's been making phenomenal plays at second. So, dude, that infield's one of the best in the league.
Last week, Kyle and I were talking about Cubs and Sox players who you'd rather have, and Nico Horner and Nick Madrigal came up as one of the questions. But I said Madrigal, but I thought about it all week, and I was like,
and that's why we muted him during that part.
Yeah, I'm changing my stance on that one.
Well, I think even the fact that it's something where you have to like take a second to think about, I think that says something about Horner, honestly.
And it's obviously you can't go wrong either, guy. I mean, Madrigal is actually a stud. This is his truly only his second year where I know Nico. And well, think about Nico's development as well. So he in 2019 when he gets called up, he's basically just his minor league season. It's like basically like 10 days of him not in baseball shape. And I know that's not a crazy long time, but still, I mean, you could say he's on his couch, gets called up into the bigs, produces at a high level. Then last year with the pandemic, a shortened spring training, then a really short summer camp, and have you. And then this year, I mean, he tears it up finally, like his first spring training, tears it up, but then gets sent down to where there's no minor league games right away.
Right.
So he's just playing the alt site with like basically inter squad games, and then gets called up even before the minor league season starts. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like, yeah, what the hell are you guys doing? Like,
yeah,
the guy can get like frozen cold, after warming up during spring training that whole time, and now you're gonna take that hot bat and let it cool off for a while.
Right. I can't think of the guy's name from Seattle who, his interview leaked or whatever, and it was very clear that he was manipulating service time.
Yeah, the GM out there or the president.
I can't think of the guy's name. But I mean, when something like that happens, the MLB basically has to say, all right, we need to get rid of this rule because it's everyone knew it was happening, but now it's out in the open.
It's stupid, man. It really is. But there's so many things in sports like that we've got to like weed out. Right. But that in particular is the most. I mean, the Chris Bryant and stuff. It's like you're foregoing success now in the hopes of locking someone down, but at the same time, think about like the morale that you're creating by doing stuff like that. And think about like people see this. Your players see what you're doing, and they're like, well, clearly winning doesn't matter right now. So I mean, I think it sets a bad precedent for.
I hate to say it, but it's kind of working in their favor in the Chris Bryant situation.
Well, it is. To be fair,
he's having an MVP caliber season.
And a cover off the ball. How do you think Jock leading off and then having Hap hit, whether it's fourth, anywhere from 4 through 6, and Horner 8th? What do you think about that? Do you like that? I'll say that strategy that Ross is putting out there.
I don't know. Like I feel like Hap leading off because that experiment's kind of been run. But with Jock, I mean, clearly it's working with Jock. So like, I'm not going to question too much, but Jock is also a guy that's, he's a guy that can go deep at any moment, and a guy that can, has a pretty solid slugging percentage. He's someone I would want like a couple spots down. I would want him at, like 4 maybe or 5. But I'm cool with it right now. Obviously, with a lot of, you're facing a lot of right pitchers, to get Jock out there, as a lefty to kind of open up the game. I don't have a problem with it, and it has been working well. Horner, I don't know. Like I would like him a little bit higher up. Like I think like a 6 spot would be a good spot for Horner or something like that. I don't know. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? Because like Hap is a hit or miss right now, So
this might be a hot take, and I was thinking about it just now. I wouldn't mind seeing Wilson in the leadoff spot. I mean, the guy works the count. He sees pitches. His on-base percentage is 100 points higher than his batting average. Obviously, he's only hitting 245, but I mean, he's an electric option at the top of the order. Another guy that, like you said, can go deep at any given moment. I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate that either. I mean, and it's not like Jock's getting you tons of speed there at the one spot.
Right.
So it's like, why not put, he can actually, get you a stolen base there in that position. So yeah, I like that.
Waiting for Kyle to shoot me down here.
Oh yeah, I have numbers. No, it's actually kind of backing you up here. It really is. So, do you want the Jock or the Nico Horner numbers first?
Let's hear Jock first.
All right. So in 2019, Jock hit 36 home runs. How many do you think were out of the leadoff spot?
Oh man,
0.
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe like 2 or something like that.
33.
No way.
Batting first in 2019, Jock Peterson hit 250 with 33 home runs in 107 games.
No shit.
So
clearly he likes it. Clearly he likes it.
I mean,
I was looking this up the other day for work, and I was like, I would never have guessed in my life. You could have given me 36 guesses, and I still wouldn't have guessed 30.
And I didn't even know he batted leadoff that much.
Right?
I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize he was in leadoff that much. That's crazy.
And this year, hitting leadoff, he obviously has the 1 home run that he hit on Friday off Martinez, but his on base is 360. So I mean, if there's something there where he's just.
It's hard to argue with that. I mean, and him against lefties this year too. It's like it doesn't even matter what pitcher you're facing at this point. He's been having a hot streak. So
I'm looking up his numbers, and I saw, of course, on this season, he hasn't been hitting well with, or overall with 2 strikes, but in May, he's been killing it. He's hitting, let me see here. Oh, fuck, hold on. Of course, it doesn't pull up. He's hitting 324. He's hitting 324 with 2 strikes.
It's like, that's unreal. Right. That's unbelievable.
Right. All right. So that
shouldn't happen.
And then you were saying you think Nico should hit 6th?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go his career. So with runners in scoring position, what do you think his career batting average is? He has in 67 career at bats.
Runners in scoring position, 270.
Max, you got a guess?
Well, based on your jock stat, it seems like the point here is to gun down Dan's theory.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say
no. This is not. This one is hyping up Dan's theory, actually.
Okay, then Nico's probably pretty good with runners in scoring position. I'll say he's over 300.
He's hitting career. He's a 403 hitter with runners.
Oh my god, dude, that's wow.
He's hitting 438 this year. And then you want to take it one step further here because I'm a numbers guy. I really am. I'm a numbers nerd. With 2 outs, he's a career 419 hitter, and he's hitting 375 this year.
Yeah, see, I feel like you can't put him that deep. You can't put him that deep in the lineup, man. You got to have that guy up there.
6 is right where he needs to be because again, it's not like too much pressure. I'd like to see Hap somewhere around 5 or 6, and then Nico right behind him.
Yep.
And then throw Jason Hayward 8th.
I don't think you have room for Hap all the way up there. Because what? You're gonna go Jock lead off, KB 2, Jock, Rizzo 3, Baez 4, Willie 5.
Okay, Hap 6, Horner 7, Hayward 8, Matt Duffy 8.
Yeah,
I'm a big Matt Duffy guy.
Yeah.
Max hates Matt.
Does he? He's like the Zobrist, man. Like he's like the Mr. Utility.
No, I'm back in on Matt Duffy.
And I'm convinced you listen to this podcast because I swear to God,
I assure you
what I'm saying.
No, we need to hang out more often.
DFA'd, and I was like, come on, this guy cannot be starting in the Cubs lineup every day. Like he's just not. He's not an MLB talented. I mean, he's completely proving me wrong. He's hitting 280 with a 377 OBP. He doesn't hit for power, but
he's just a smart player, Yeah. Like he's good. He works the count well and puts the ball in play, and that's all you can ask for a guy in that position, that situation. So, I like it. I mean, overall, man, the lineup, these guys are hitting. We've known for a few years now, especially post the World Series. The whole thing was like they can score. We all know they can score. It's can the pitching be there and can they score consistently? That's been the biggest problem. Like
timely hitting too.
2 years ago started that inconsistent trend, I feel. And then, last year continued. This year now they're going through quite a streak. Let's hope that this kind of levels out with some consistency here.
Yeah. At this point, it really boils down to the pitching because I mean, their staff has been rocky at best.
And it's weird because I thought the bullpen was going to be atrocious, and they've been pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's like I know Steele just went on the IL, but like he's been surprisingly good, and Winkler, even last night, Winkler got him out of Tepera too, out of the bases loaded jam. It's like, and Chafin's been decent, and Kimbrel's been, somewhat back to form. It's like, I can't believe he hit. Wait, this is a fun stat. I looked this up yesterday. He went to the plate yesterday, right? Guess what career at bat that was for Craig Kimbrel?
Oh, I mean, I know this actually.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So Max, do you know what career?
Right, let's have Max guess.
I know at least.
Career at bat number 3.
It was close. It was number 2.
Number 2.
So
I
was like,
and he with the Cubs, or was that had to be his first one?
No, the first one was with Boston, I want to say. Or no, with the Braves. I'm sorry, with the Braves.
Or was it the Padres?
I don't know. I thought it was with the Braves. I thought it was with the Braves. I could be wrong.
But either way, yeah. And then he's up. That's like the last thing I want to see. I mean, obviously in that situation, I would have my closer hit too, but I tell him it's rookie.
I mean, he ran him full.
Don't bring it
Get
back.
in the back corner of the box. Don't fucking swing at anything.
Yeah,
I don't want
for
him
sure.
swinging at something that he's like gonna, hit a 7-hopper to the pitcher and like strain his oblique and he's out for 6 weeks. Or some
Exactly.
stupid shit.
That's the
Somehow
last
be
thing.
occurring.
The
You know what
last
I
thing
mean?
you need.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm trying to find. Were you able to find that at bat? It's like it's like kind of bother me.
I am willing to say.
I'm
though,
looking
that I
right
think
now. I'm trying
Kyle
to find
Hendricks
it.
is all the way back.
Oh man, is he ever? Holy shit.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
with the Padres. It was in 2015. So I stand corrected on that one. But
There you go.
But yeah, and I also thought it was kind of weird though that he hadn't been in that position before because you would think with your closer you're going to bring him in for the final out of the 8th every now and then he's going to be the guy you want turning around in the 9th. So I would have just thought that it's happened more than just twice in his entire career, but go figure, But yeah, no. So the bullpen's been great. Starting pitching, yeah, a little rocky. It'd be nice to have you Darvish right now, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, we were just saying that. I was just saying that last week. It's like Hoyer's got to be kicking himself in the press box.
I didn't get it. I was like, come on, dude. Like he actually finally last year lived up to the contract,
right?
And then and that's when you're gonna choose to be like, we can't afford you anymore. It's like, dude.
I mean, if they had him at the top of the rotation, there's not a doubt in my mind that they'd be in first in the division right now.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, he's pitching great.
Lights out. He picked up right where he left.
Is he leading the league right now in ERA? He's got to be close. I thought it was like 1.3 or something, wasn't he?
He's top 5 in a lot of categories.
Let's see here. LB pitcher.
Yeah, I mean,
one of them.
That was definitely the most upsetting move, probably of the offseason was that whole deal. I just didn't understand it. I was like,
right. Well, I mean, they got some young, like, hopefully kids that they're gonna, catch a snag with that'll take off and be studs. But
we'll see. I mean, maybe it will pay off in a few years. But it also felt like, if this is the final year with the core, then man, just make one last run or something.
Right.
Exactly. So we'll see what they do. I mean, if they keep the core, then okay, maybe that makes a little more sense. Now you're building in the next group to come behind them. But if they're going to get rid of, 2 of the 3 of Baez, Brian and Rizzo, then this makes no sense, in my view.
You got to keep 2 of those 3 though, don't you think?
I think you do. Absolutely. I think you do. And honestly,
it almost seems like Rizzo's an automatic keep.
Yeah. Even though I don't know, I just think a 31-year-old that with the money he's going to demand. Now, granted, like
talent-wise, at this point, I mean, obviously, it's it's not really going out there.
Well, then who? Because I think I'd rather have KB and Baez, to be quite honest. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just getting at is skill-wise at this point, which is not really. I mean, in age 2, I'd take KB and Baez for sure. It's just Rizzo has a special place in my heart, I think.
I agree. I mean, he's the most lovable Cub that there is on that team, and he's great for the locker room. Obviously, everyone loves him. Like he's the guy,
right?
And a great person,
So just to put a little extra salt in the wound, Darvish is 5-1 with a 1.75 ERA, and he's got 74 strikeouts with a .89 WHIP.
Hang on, let me get my calculator out, boys.
All right, so here, I'm going to shove this one right back up your hoop. What do you think Zach Davies' ERA in the month of May is in 5 starts?
Probably something good, but not that good.
Yeah, I think he's probably 2.3.
He has a 1.71.
Really? Wow, it is that. Wow.
Let's see, 26 and a third innings.
Man, the Cubs just with the guys with the 85-mile-an-hour fastballs somehow getting it done.
Can't get away from it.
Yeah, no way.
It is crazy. And then they have these guys coming in from the bullpen that just throw absolute gas.
Yeah.
Like Tommy Nance, Justin Steele, even yesterday, Dan Winkler was touching 96. I was like, look at this guy with the weird haircut.
And then, dude, does Andrew Chafin just looks like the stereotypical
dad
guy, like dad guy,
Stoner, maybe
in one of those like 1975 baseball movies. Like he's the guy that's just sitting there in the dugout with a cigarette in his mouth and like chewing tobacco.
It's actually pronounced Shafin, if you didn't know.
Shafin, is it really?
No.
on this,
Okay.
Max
on this podcast, it is.
Shafeen.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm gonna have to start saying that now. And call him Andy too.
Yeah.
Andy Shafeen.
Yes.
Stepping up.
So last Cubs question. Do you think they'll at the deadline, buyers or sellers?
I think they're probably, sad to say, I don't think they're gonna be very active.
That's fair.
You think
I don't it just doesn't see, it's not in their DNA, you know. What'd you say?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
You think they're just going to stand pat where they won't be either buyers or sellers, or do you think they just
I'm trying to think of who. Yeah, probably if they are buyers, they're probably buying like a mid-grade reliever or something that, you know, is not going to be a sexy pick at all, and it's not going to be anything that anyone's excited about. Yeah.
I mean, or they'll probably go get a starter from, I don't know.
They could.
Like a Herman Marquez kind of guy or something like that.
I would be in favor, honestly. I mean, anything to try and bolster that that rotation.
But it's really going to come down to what their record is at the time. If they're
That's very true. I mean, if they're in the division lead and have somewhat of a cushion and feeling good.
But if they're 8 games out and KB is still, lighting the world on fire, they might have to trade him.
Yeah, I don't want Jed to break up the team. That's all I don't want.
I don't either.
I don't want a Jerry Krause situation on our hands.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I don't think anybody does.
You can't break it up. I mean, especially, I hate to bring it up, but it's like this team was supposed to win multiple World Series, and they got close, the 2017, but then the wheels have fallen off, and
after the 2016 World Series, you're sitting there drinking, and I'm just like, I think I'm just gonna keep drinking because they're gonna keep winning.
Just think I'll keep going. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a culmination of all the things working out perfectly for them. Lester was pitching great. Hendricks was phenomenal. Arrieta was obviously at Cy Young form. And once you have a pitching rotation that's not even close to that level, which it hasn't been for a few years now, then that explains why they've been where they've been at. And obviously at the plate too, they do deserve some, fault for not being consistent enough. But man, I don't want to break it up. If they can keep those 3, man, I still feel like confident that they can build a core again. Like they can build a championship caliber team with those guys. It's just, will they do it, or will pride get in the way, or, there's a lot of things that could happen.
They really got to start hitting in the draft and on some prospects. It seems like there's so much exciting young talent in the MLB, and the Cubs rarely have any of those guys.
Right. Yeah, you look at the Padres, and you're like, my good. Like Padres can afford to give out 3 prospects to acquire, great talent, and they still have, 5 top 50 prospects or something. Right. It's like, dude, what? Like how? Like why can't we be in a position like that? And it's like you're in Chicago. It's a premier market. This team should be able to afford and be able to acquire talent at a much more consistent rate than they have been. And that's been probably the biggest frustrating point is like, okay, a team like the Orioles can complain about like not being able to like afford certain things or whatever, but it's like Chicago hasn't really had that excuse.
Psalms Pirates.
Yeah.
Lowest salary cap in baseball, son.
Yeah, I know.
The players are actually paying them to play.
Right.
And that's what's going on.
It's called the luxury tax, and you just pay it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think the Yankees really care about the luxury tax? Like,
no, neither do the Dodgers.
They don't care. The Dodgers don't either. Like, they're like, okay, we can afford it. So
and that's how the Cubs should be too.
Yeah, just take your lumps and go. Like, yeah, I totally agree. I don't think it's as big of a deterrent as people, think it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, some of my friends, we joke, we're like, the Ricketts are the poorest billionaires that we've ever
no kidding, dude. They're probably like in McDonald's tonight or something. It's like, come on, guys, what's going on? But yeah, I hope I can get out there sometime. I don't think I'm gonna be able to go this year. I'm gonna go to a couple Braves games. Actually, it's pretty close. I'm excited to see Truist Park. It's a pretty new ball field.
Yeah.
I missed it when the Cubs came out here. So maybe next year I'll get to go out there because I miss Wrigley, man. And
So
obviously after last year.
Are you following like the Myrtle Beach Pelicans these days, or?
No, not close enough. You know, I should. And so they're a few hours away. That would actually be really cool to go and see, dude. Myrtle Beach is like beautiful. Yeah. I bet that ballpark's like awesome. You know,
I actually played in it one time.
Did you really?
Yeah, like a travel tournament growing up. We went out there. There's like a whole Cal Ripken experience. Like out there, they have all these turf fields and shit, and we played at the Pelicans field. We went like 1-6.
Could you see like the ocean
time while we were out there?
That's all right. I mean, you were there for the experience, man. Who cares about the game?
Oh,
that's cool.
Christ.
Are we going to talk Last Dance? Or are we going to?
I was about to say, let's transition a little bit into the Last Dance here. So, Dan, you obviously had to watch that last year, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. I've watched it twice, actually. I watched it twice through.
Perfect. All right. So I wrote some bullet points down, and I'll name them, and then you guys just kind of give your thoughts on just how crazy these like little tidbits are.
Okay.
So at the beginning, so we were today we were watching the second episode, episode 2, and it was kind of featured around Scottie Pippen and his contract negotiations with the Bulls and how he signed that 7 years, $18 million deal in 1991. So during the Bulls' 6 championship seasons, he was second on the Bulls in scoring, second in rebounds, second in minutes played, first in assists, first in steals, 6th on the team in salary, and he was 122nd in the NBA in salary. Yeah. But I want to ask you guys, so do you fault who do you think is at fault here for like that? I'll say that contract.
That situation. Yeah.
Right. How can, like, if you're Jerry Krause, and I hate that I'm siding with him, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you signed the fucking contract.
Right.
Like, we didn't hold a gun to your head to sign this 7 year or this 18 million over 7 years. Right. Like, you signed it. He said he wanted stability for his family because his dad was in a wheelchair, his brother was in a wheelchair.
Yep.
He wanted to make sure that like everybody in his corner was taken care of. So, and you can't, I don't know how anybody could pass. I mean, 18 million is 18 million. It's not chump change, but at the same time, then at the, like, towards the end of the episode,
nice financial advisor, and he's turning that into 40.
Easily. Yeah. I wonder if he converted that to Bitcoin at the time.
At the time.
Get in on the ground floor.
At the end of the episode, he's like bitching. He's like, I'm looking out for me now. It's like, well, you should have been
a little
looking
late
out
for that, Scotty.
Yeah, dude, 7 years too late, idiot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit late to, and what was it? It was when Scotty just decided to sit out, right? That to me was, I don't care what your excuse is, man. Like, you got to play, like, and you got to do it for your team, dude. I don't care. Like, I get what the front office did to you, but like, I totally agree with MJ on that situation. Like, he kind of sold the team out. It's like, you know what? I'm not a part of this team right now, and that's. As a teammate, I could imagine that would really rub you the wrong way. No, I
probably shouldn't have signed a deal that 16-year-old Cuban baseball players are getting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing where I think, you have to take ownership over signing that deal. I don't know what talks went on actually, 5 years into it or 3 years into it, whatever. I think it would have behooved, Reinsdorf and company to say, you know what, you brought us, a couple championships. Let's restructure your deal and we'll give you some more. I know that's just not how in the business aspect that it works, like from a financial aspect, but in sports, you find a lot of teams are willing to be loyal to their players and to maybe give a little bit extra than they normally would. And I think that would have been a situation where you don't have to make them the 10th highest paid player in the NBA, but you can say like, hey man, like, out of good faith and out of what you've done for us already, getting us a couple titles, like, we'll throw you a bone here. And it wouldn't have shaken up the team, right? Like, it wouldn't have shaken up to make up the team to throw them a few more million.
Taking us from the traveling cocaine circus to the best, the best duo of all time with Michael Jordan. It's like,
and he was so obviously a vital part of that. Like, I just see what happened, pre and post Pippen with, like, it's just not MJ didn't do anything before Pippen came in terms of postseason success to that level. It required a guy of his caliber to get them over that hump, and so he does deserve a lot of credit for that, for like what he did.
The one thing I don't like is, and I hate to make it about this, but anytime the LeBron Jordan debate comes up, it's like Pippen is Jordan's crutch. Like everyone talks about Pippen and how Jordan wouldn't be Jordan without Pippen, and it's like I understand that.
It's a tired argument, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on, like give Michael credit where credit's due.
Michael would still have been the GOAT, if Scotty. Now, would he have had 6 rings? Maybe not,
Right.
But I also I'm not someone who thinks the rings are why he's the GOAT. The rings are part of that conversation. But if Michael had 4 rings or 3 rings, I mean, dude, the guy, like, he was clearly just like the best basketball player ever, at the time, and I still think he is. But I could see the arguments about LeBron. I get them. I still think, MJ's the best there is, but that debate can be had. But yeah, I don't know why everyone always wants to make it like someone made someone else. It's like, why didn't they just coexist great together? And they were great together. It's not to bring it back to Pittsburgh, but like people say that about Antonio Brown and Big Ben, that Antonio Brown made Big Ben, a better passer, and that Big Ben made Antonio Brown great. Well, I think Antonio Brown still would have been an absolutely phenomenal receiver if it weren't, Big Ben wasn't the guy throwing the football. It's just like, just let them. Yeah. It's like they're not mutually exclusive. They can both be great and also great together,
Exactly.
I think part of what made Jordan the GOAT is, and Kyle, you were talking about this earlier, but he would go out and play 36 holes the day before a game.
Yeah.
Have throw back a few beers and then show up the next night and drop like 50 points.
Yeah, exactly.
On whatever poor sucker had to guard him.
It's like reminiscent of like Doc Ellis throwing a no-hitter on acid. It's like what?
Whatever, yeah.
Right.
So the quote that Larry Bird had for that game 2 where MJ, so I didn't realize, so I knew he dropped 63 in game 2. I didn't realize that in game 1 he dropped 49. Both losing efforts, by the way.
Yeah.
Both losing efforts. And after that game 2 loss, Larry Bird said that wasn't Michael Jordan. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan, which is like the perfect way to describe MJ when he, like, if he just took over a game, it was like, and watching these highlights of him where he's just in the air and then kind of like hits him with the hezzy midair and then just like still with the floater. Yeah. I'm like, oh my, this
guy has time to do that in the air. He has time to do a full rotation,
Yeah, he's like defying gravity.
Really is
unbelievable. And then we talked about this a little bit last week, but the last thing I had was, how crazy are these oversized suits? I might bring this up every time we talk about this. But these oversized suits are just nuts.
I'm going to a wedding this weekend. I kind of wish I had one. Like the looks the outrageous looks you would get if you showed up anywhere in public in an extra large suit like that.
Yeah. I'm like amazed that he could find a suit that looks too big on him. I'm like, what, dude? Like, if you go to the big and tall, I would still imagine that he would have to get them to like move the sleeves down a little bit further. Yeah. Like, dude, what?
That suit would have been big on Shaq.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
I don't know how that was like a thing.
Court, and it's like you could fit like I could have fit in those pants while he was wearing them, and Max could have just jumped in and then saw him could have jumped. It's like, who are you hiding in there? Like, I mean, I know you got a hose between your legs, but I mean, those pant legs aren't that big.
All the Space Jam characters are in there.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Did you guys see the SNL skit on The Last Dance that they just did like last week?
No. I did not.
You got to look it up. Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah.
He plays MJ, and someone else plays like MJ's security guy with the curly blonde hair.
Yeah.
And they recreate the scene where they're playing quarters. And it's so funny because MJ like basically gets the guy to like sell him his home, and like the guy ends up just being like homeless with like kids or whatever because MJ just like was too competitive and just had to keep playing. Oh, it's phenomenal. You got to definitely check that out.
I think my favorite Jordan quote of that whole documentary, he's like, I don't have a gambling problem. I just have a competition problem.
Yes.
And so now every time I lose when I'm gambling, it's like, you know what? I'm just competing right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting mental gymnastics there, Michael. I like it.
Yeah, if basketball didn't work, he sure had a career as a PR, working in PR,
No
spin
doubt.
zoning, everything. But Max, you got anything else on the Last Dance?
No, I don't think so. I think we hit all the main points. I mean, we
running
could sit
long
here and call Jerry Krause a fucking idiot over and over again. But
Psalm, what do we have for time here?
We're at an hour 25.
Yeah, we could get this wrapped.
One of our
here.
longest yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're not getting home for dinner tonight. Well, we'll end it on that note, the competition problem. So, Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, when football kicks off in mini camp and all that good stuff, or training camp, not mini camp. When that kicks off, we'll have to have you back on. We'll break down Bears. We'll talk a little Steelers. We'll see how Najee Harris's thighs are.
For sure. Yeah, we'll check back in on the thighs.
Maybe Mike Davis's thighs too. But seriously, thanks for coming on. And give your podcast and your Twitter handle a plug.
Yeah, what's the handle?
Sure. Yeah. So the podcast is called The Football Lounge. It's at FB Lounge Pod. And then you can find me on Twitter at Dan Vasko. Pretty simple. So yeah, go check it out. We do one. I'm actually going to post it here pretty shortly since we did it right before we went on air here. So we do once a week, every Monday. We put it out there and just kind of talk about the news of the week. So yeah, give it a listen if you're into football talk, NFL, pretty much go through everything. So yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, I'll definitely come back on with you guys, whenever you want me. So appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, love it.
All right, thanks again, Dan.
Thanks,
we
Dan.
hope the Bears and the Steelers exceed your 10-7.
I hope so too, man. Hey, a Bears Steelers Super Bowl would be just perfect. I would be all for that.
You're officially a recurring guest, by the way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That means you have to come on whenever we ask.
Okay, fine.